This call is now being recorded.
This is Global Tellink. You have a prepaid call from
Silas Johnson.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tellink.
So on our last conversation, you had just got to Camp Gonzales. You were on the Bluebird, the white Bluebird, and you were finishing up your last 6 months.
Right. So Camp Gonzales, ironically, was a pretty good experience. There were fights. Kids were fighting, and there were gang members there, and we had probably the highlight bad experience there was we had like a race riot between blacks and Mexicans in the gym. I believe some outside visitors that came for like a church service, and they were rapping, and it was like some Christian rappers, and the thing just broke out in the gym. Like it's probably one of the crazier things I've experienced. I've been in riots on Corcoran Shoe Yard, and this was up there. I mean, even as a 16-year-old teen, I mean, it's pretty crazy.
So when you were in camp, is there anything that sticks out in your mind from your whole experience there that you would like to share with us? Whether it's like the food, the cake, fights. When they would fight, would it be like regular fights out in the open, or would they fight on their knees or interlock their legs and fight sitting down?
Yo, this kid here, he's like in his 30s. He asked me about.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
He asked me about my time in camp, and he asked me when we fought, did we sit down and lock knees and fight? And it kind of reminded me of during the American Revolution or the Civil War when cats would line up and just shoot each other and stand still and just shoot no, we weren't doing that. We had something with it. We used to call it OOB, out of bounds. So if you wanted, say they called school in the morning and we're leaving out of the dorm, if you got into it with somebody the day before or that morning, you would go behind the building, sneak behind the building, and one of the counselors would be right there, the cool counselors, and you guys would fight. You come in, you clean up, and it'd be done with it. It'd be done with. There were rarely fights. Now that I think about it, there were rarely fights that were out in the open. Usually if there was a fight out in the open, it was somebody that was scared they were going to get beat up in private. So they just went for what they knew right then and there. So there was somebody there to stop it.
And what was, did you guys have a uniform or what were you guys wearing there?
Yeah, we wore green scrubs. They were all green. Green top and green bottom.
Was it like military? Was it fatigues or actually actual juvenile hall scrubs?
Yeah, just like scrubs like the nurses wear. Just plain scrubs like the medical scrubs. Green top, green bottom, the same type of material.
When you finished your camp program, was there a graduation from camp, or did you just go back were you sent back to court and you were released from court, or were you just sent back to juvenile hall and released then?
I was sent back to Sylmore Juvenile Hall, and I was released from there. 2 days before I got sick, I caught the bus back down there, and I got released. You asked me, now that I think about it, you asked me about my experience in camp. And besides the fights and all the stuff that happens there, I actually got enrolled into a program. One of the counselors, Lisa Campbell, she enrolled me into a program there, job education. It was a training program, and they taught us different things like how to fill out job applications, home ec. We cooked. So there were only like 8 of us that got chosen for it. And at the end of the program, they paid us when we got home. They paid us $500 for being in the program, and that's actually how I bought my first car, a 1977 Mercury Marquis.
I'm pretty sure that was a good feeling, you know, being that age, coming home and during that time, that would have been a substantial amount of money, you know, especially coming home from camp. So that was a huge blessing.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
And when you got that, were you expecting that check, or did it just show up and you couldn't believe your eyes?
Oh no, when she enrolled me into the program, my counselor at the time, she told me that I'd be receiving that money, and I was just like, yeah, right. And before I left, you know, she asked me to call up there and check on it, and I got home and I called and asked her, and she said, you know, well, they'd be sending the check out, and I mean, 2 weeks later, you know, I went and checked the mail, looked my name, and at the time my aunt worked the food for less, and so I went up there and right up the street and cashed the check and went with my brother and went and bought my car.
And at this time, what year was this?
This was 1994.
Okay, so this was way before Craigslist or any type of app that you could use to purchase a car. So how would one buy a car during this time?
They had like the magazines, like was it a Penny Saver? I think it was like a Penny Saver, where they had the cars, the pictures advertised in the magazines. You go to 7-Eleven and pick one up, and had the picture of the car, the number that you could call, the address, and all that, the condition, and so yeah, I went in there and thumbed through it with my best friend Jermaine, and we found the car and went to go get it.
And in that car, can you think about a time that you had a joyful memory, or something that stands out, a memory that with that car?
Oh man, my brother Derek and I, I'm 16 at the time, he was 17, and my best friend Jermaine, he's 16, and so all 3 of us have cars. So we had get this bright idea. We're gonna drive out to Malibu Castle and off of Sepulveda and Ventura. So all of us, instead of getting in the car, one of our cars, and all of the 3 of us going together, we drive separately, each of us in our 3 cars up there.
and for those of us that are not familiar, is Malibu Castle, is that like a golfing place, arcade, or what kind of activities do they have at Malibu Castle?
Miniature golfing, a huge arcade, batting cage, food. I guess it'd be kind of equivalent to like even though I've never been, I've seen on the commercials like Dave and Buster's. I guess it'd be kind of equivalent to now.
Yeah, that would probably be like the closest thing. The only thing that they don't have there, I believe, is alcohol.
Oh yeah, okay.
I think it's more family oriented.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we drove up there, and my best friend Jermaine, his car breaks down up there. So my brother ended up having to take him all the way back home. I got lost. We split up and I got lost, so my brother ended up taking him all the way back home. But that was just a cool thing, just being 16 and just, you know, no license, no insurance, no nothing. This is back when I got pulled over 3 times in that car with no license and got let go. The police weren't taking, as long as it was your car, you know, no insurance. It was like whatever. They just let you go.
I think they started taking cars away back in '97 when they passed that law requiring you to have insurance. If I'm not mistaken, it was '97.
Right. Yeah, but back then, man, it was just fun. You know, we were free, we were young, you know. And I mean, having a car at 16 is just like having the world in your pocket, man.
Yeah, you had that freedom that probably a lot of
This
kids
call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
your age hadn't experienced yet. Or didn't have the luxury to do. So it seems like you're having a good time. You know, you just come home from camp. Are you still on probation, or did you discharge probation?
No, I'm still on probation at this time. Still on probation and still doing the check-ins with my probation officer, Drew. Still doing that. Going to school sparingly, you know, going to school just enough to where I don't get violated and get into trouble. And but still not really doing the right thing, you know. One day I'm at school, the next day I'm not. You know, it was at that point I pretty much just resolved that, you know, I was just going to do what I wanted to do.
And during this time, did you have any goals or aspirations?
I wanted to play football. I love football. I wanted to play football. I just I didn't have the discipline to see it through. I remember going to practice at Kennedy, and our coach Francola. And so I'm fresh out of camp, and I've been ditching so much that, you know, I was ineligible. But through camp, you know, being in a controlled environment, you know, I'd gotten my grades up, and so I was eligible. So I went and turned my report card into him, and I went to practice. And after that, I never went back. I went to my neighborhood and started hanging out, and I just chose that over being a football player. And so a couple of months later, I'm at school, and we're in gym class, and we go over to the field and we play the football team in a scrimmage, and we beat them pretty bad. I threw a couple of touchdowns, and you know, I'm clowning the football team. You know, you guys are supposed to be representing the school, and you know, you let us beat you guys. And Coach Francola says, "Yeah, you played a good game, but you won't be here tomorrow." Basically referring to the fact that, you know, I quit and that I was ditching school. And yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. Pretty embarrassing moment for me to be called a quitter, you know, in front of everybody. But what he said was true, you know. I mean, all the talent in the world doesn't mean the difference, you know, if you don't see things through.
A few moments ago, you mentioned neighborhood. This neighborhood, is it where you lived, or was it because you were part of something?
It's the gang I was from.
And what part of the city did you live at this time in this time frame?
At this time, I moved from Panorama City. We had moved back to Pacoima.
So what was the next main event that happened that kind of changed your life, or that had an impact on your life?
I would say
You have 60 seconds remaining.
you want me to just give you a call back?